Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the State Library of Iowa's Kernels program. Kernels are short videos that offer a pop of information about a library practice, everything that's happening in the library world, a practice or an idea that is applied in libraries, and maybe you can add them to your library. We have lots of kernels on our State Library of Iowa's YouTube page, so please feel free to check out all of our videos. We have a ton that you can watch. And after you get done watching those videos, you can fill out a continuing education form and submit that to the State Library of Iowa. With us today, we have Zach Stier from Ericson Public Library, and we have Sarah. There he goes. Hi, Zach. You waved. And we have Sarah Nelson. Sarah is the director of the NASA Iowa Space Grant Consortium. Did I say that correctly?
You got it perfect.
Awesome. Thank you guys both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So a lot of our librarians attended the STEM fairs in 2023 of this year, and they got to see some of these really cool kits that Zach and Sarah are going to share with us today. So tell us all about it and how this came about.
Absolutely. So at Ericson Public Library, we have been just so immersed with outer space and NASA for quite some time. I mean, personally speaking, I love outer space and I love NASA. At one time, we participated in the NASA at My Library program, which is through the American Library Association. And then I just realized that I wanted our library to continue with NASA and STEM-related stuff and programs and activities. I have worked with the Iowa Space Grant Consortium in the past, and then officially met Sarah. And then it was just, I believe from the get-go, just a great conversation on how we can continue to evolve the partnership and what needs, librarians are asking for in the state of Iowa. And we came to the understanding of doing these kits so that they're ready-made kits that include the curriculum as well as the materials to go along with that as well. So, yeah.
Excellent. So what are the goals or the learning objectives for the To the Moon and Back kits?
Yeah, you bet. So I'm going to share my screen here.
Absolutely.
So we like to call them missions because it coincides very well with NASA and space. So we have 3 different missions that go along with each kit. And so this mission, for example, is Operation Architect on the Moon. The really nice thing also is that they include QR codes throughout the curriculum so that it's easily accessible for librarians to scan for those. So that at the start of each mission, I did a recording to introduce the mission and then just to help them grasp like what it will entail. So I'm going to move on forward here, I believe, this direction. So what's also important to say is one of my backgrounds, obviously as a children's librarian, but I have a background in curriculum and instruction, emphasis on early childhood. So I did approach, Sarah, we had a great conversation because as librarians, we too take great responsibility to ensure that we're also understanding as much as possible with curriculum standards, early childhood standards. So we wanted to put in the next generation science standards, which are important, especially when we look at STEAM-related activities. So these, for example, are the next generation standards for this kit. So if a librarian is so intrigued to look up more of the details as to what each of those mean more specifically, they are welcome to do so, and by going to the Next Generation Standards website. And it really just elevates the kits further so that these librarians are able to talk with even educators in their community who are interested in some more informal related programming, and they can say, hey, look, these also align with these next generation standards as well. So so the objective here for this kit is really looking at obviously the Boone, and then it will go forth and tell you the supply list, which is included in each of the kits as well.
And if I can just follow up a little bit too, we just absolutely love this partnership because it also meets one of our core missions, which is to support STEM education and STEM research in the state. And of course, help people become aware of some of NASA's work. And so this partnership has just been fabulous. And we really look for partners that help us expand access to not only literacy, but STEM across the state. And this is where working with Ericson Public Library and Zach was just so fundamental. And then having them in the state library system is just amazing to us. So this partnership means a lot to us.
Fantastic.
And I'm happy, if you want, I can show you the rest of this curriculum just to kind of provide an overview as to what they look like. So it's very detailed too, and I appreciate Sarah really reviewing these as well, because as we know, when we develop something in our head, it makes sense. But it's important for us to have had this review. So it provides the overview of the activities step by step, suggested times, materials to be used, and then as they go forward, again, there are QR codes that once scanned link to specific sites. The other thing that we felt important, as it's important with STEM, is inquiry-based thought process. And so we wanted to have a section of things to ponder so that librarians and their patrons are able to start conversation even after constructing something or building something, that they have questions that connect to the mission that they completed. And then again, as information resource professionals, it's incredibly important that we connect to available resources that don't cost money. That was another big thing. Mm-hmm. We didn't want to put a price tag because we're librarians, and we wanted to ensure that they had everything available to them. And so that's just an example of the first mission, and then the other ones are similarly laid out as well.
Can you talk about the checkout link? So if a librarian wanted to check out any of the kits, what is the checkout link for a kit?
Yeah, so this is a really great question, because I still consider that we're in a pilot stage right now. We're trying to work out the kinks. And I believe that's an area that we need a little bit more improvement, only because we originally were going to put a link on our website, have them fill out a form, and that gets sent to me. And then speaking with the director, just from an efficiency standpoint, these are in our catalog, and then on Silo, they can fill out a blank request form. And what I can do, and I can send that to you as well, but I'll just pull up our catalog. So when you complete a blank request form, the kit that you want to put in, the title, is To the Moon and Back. Mm-hmm. And so I would just say that they follow, if they have an interlibrary loan specialist or somebody who does their interlibrary loans, to request a blank request, fill it all out, and then it gets sent to us. And then we have a tracking system through Silo. And these are available. I triple checked before that we can use Mobius, we can use Iowa shares for them to be delivered to the libraries. So I would just say that is just an area that we're improving on, is how we are checking them out and tracking them. But go through Silo on that.
Because I can see some youth librarians saying, ooh, this sounds interesting. I want a plan. I want to see if I can get it on this week this date. I can already sense that.
Oh, and that's the hard part. So, I don't do interlibrary loans. So
Mhm.
I had to be reminded that even if they say we need it by October 18th, we just have to understand that it may be there and it may be a couple days after. So that's the biggest thing that I will just tell librarians is, and you're also amazing. So just be a little patient. I can say that we have these booked almost to April of next year. So Sarah,
Wow.
we may need to make some more.
Well, that sounds good
but
to me.
yeah,
Wow.
so it's good in that, but go through Silo and just be just a tad bit patient. They hopefully will be there when you need them, but they'll be there. They'll arrive.
So you're just saying, just to clarify, they are already booked out until April of next year.
Yeah, so we have kids already, all three are gone now. We have a few in October.
Okay.
I believe in November, maybe December will be available, but
Okay.
I'm just now booking for some January, February, but we have folks that need them in March and April. And those have been booked
Spring
as well.
break.
Yep, spring break. Also next year, correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but the eclipse is coming, right?
April 8th.
Yeah. April 8th. So I'm sure that they're planning well and ahead for that too. So just you have, through this, just contact me if you're needing to inquire if ones are available and when, and then go through Silo to request it. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm seeing with this picture, there's a lot of very cool items in there. Do you want to share some information about some of the picture books and the grade levels for those for the kids?
Yeah. So we definitely wanted to have a balance between picture books, but also picture books that are more nonfiction based, so factual information. I am an interesting children's librarian sometimes because I want things to be accessible for as many ages as possible. So I always tell children's librarians, youth librarians, that things can be modified to meet the needs of a group that you need it to be met. So these books definitely are more like second, third, and fourth. But even if you wanted to go a little younger, just looking at the illustrations and discussing the details of a planet or a moon or a sun, those conversations are important too. But I would definitely say early elementary, second, third, fourth, would be a targeted age for these and up, I guess. And then you can see a telescope is there. The telescope is wonderful. It's pretty much built, but we've included instructions and the eyepiece and all of that so that they will have a full, complete telescope for them to use. And then we have some VR stuff, the solar system VR, for them to be a more immersive experience with this kit. The Merge Cube, again, in these curriculums, the details on how to access and what to do is available. But we are also available for questions or anything like that they may have. So we definitely are in a pilot stage. We hope that the materials provided are clear, but again, if they need some assistance, we're able to help with that. Yeah.
I was just getting ready to ask because I'd used the Merge Cube, and for a first time librarian using a Merge Cube, I know there's some challenges trying to use it. So that was my other question. Does a youth librarian need training to use that Merge Cube?
So it's pretty intuitive. The instructions are there, but we're available, to answer any questions. And if they need to hop on a Zoom, or if they're close enough and want to swing by, or I can come there to show, that's not a problem. But more than likely, it's an intuitive process. But if they need help, they can reach out.
And what types of successes or failures have you seen with the to the moon and back kits?
So that's a little bit tricky to answer, only because I haven't received any. We have a survey that goes with these, so I haven't received any feedback quite yet. I wouldn't say it's a failure. It's been a little confusing on the circulation of it through to find that the best process, and I think we figured it out this morning. So we'll get there. As we all know, with new stuff, we have to work out the kinks, and then it will just smooth out eventually. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If a youth librarian wanted to create their own type of kit similar to the moon and back kits that you guys have created, what words of advice would you give them?
That's a great question, and I'm sure Sarah will piggyback a little bit, because one of the other conversations that we had is we want to empower youth and children's librarians to do just that. And then to do that, we are thinking about creating kind of like a cohort or something like that that has a culmination of youth and children's librarians who are like, hey, I love this kit, but I really would like maybe this type of kit, and really empower them to show how we created To the Moon and Back, where they and how they can create their own kit. And because I'm in the central part of Iowa, and these are available for all Iowa libraries, which are great. But sometimes, I mean, my vision is it would be great for different quadrants of the state to have their library to be a hub for a certain amount of kits, and then this library over here to have a certain amount of kits. So then that way the Boone library isn't just have 37 kits or whatever at our library, that they're a closer library system. So that's something I think will come, eventually, once we kind of see how this first round goes. But be on the lookout for that. I know Sarah is interested in doing that as well. Yeah.
Yes. I echo everything that was just said, but then also we'll add on, if there are ideas that you have, please come and talk to either one of us. I think we would love to help you implement your idea. One of my jobs is to help people, especially if it's space focused, but STEM focused, to really get those ideas off the ground, launch them, right? Just like NASA would do. But I'd love to see some potential PD maybe in the future. So I know we've talked about that. So kind of watch for that. But just also that framework that was developed here is just fabulous. And so I hope that we can just see that expanded and really open up these materials and access to this materials as much as we are able together.
Awesome. And if a youth librarian has questions or concerns, how can they contact you both?
Yeah. So they can contact me through email, which is Z as in zebra, STIER, and then the whole rest is at boone.lib.ia.us. Or if they're close, they can just stop on by and have a chat. I always welcome that too. So, yeah.
And my email would be an Iowa State one. So it's S for Sarah and then D Nelson, NELSON at iastate.edu. But I think a quick Google search too, if you type in Sarah Nelson and Iowa State, would pull up that too. And then there's a phone number there also that people are welcome to call.
And I'll echo something that Sarah said. Never once in this process, even though I have my background and Sarah has her background, I never felt intimidated to ask a science-related question. I think sometimes, at least for me, when we are not scientists by trade, we're like, how do we ask this question? Do we ask it scientifically so that they're like, oh, they know stuff? But never once did I feel intimidated. I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Is there a word for that? Is there a term for that? Is this the right measurement that NASA uses? Or is it this type of measurement? Just because you want to get it right, but they're there to help. And Sarah was there to help because of her background. So I appreciate it.
That's good.
That's
so glad.
That's fantastic. I love how the kits have an inquiry-based feel to them. That way, you're getting those questions asked for the kids to really think about. And I love how you can adapt the kits to a younger age where you're just looking at the picture books and conducting dialogic reading and just looking at the pictures and talking about what's happening in the pictures and engaging that conversation and that dialogue about STEM.
Absolutely. And I'll also add, you can use these for story time. You can use these for after school, but equally important, we're all about partnerships, right? This is a partnership here. So in your school system, if they're like, hey, we have a back to school night or we have a STEM lab, and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm going to check one of these out and I'm going to bring it to the school, not to drop off and leave, but obviously to do the program there. They can do that as well. It's really up to them how they want to use it, so long as we get everything back.
I love it.
And I'll say this too, if something happens, Sarah and I talked about this, things happen. We're learning this too, if something happens to the telescope, we will work it out. Please do not be afraid. I have made errors and made mistakes too, and have cost the library some money. But that's okay because things happen and we move on.
Yes, I mean, because sometimes things go missing, parts are broken. It's just the cost of doing business. You work it out and you have replacements. So yes, totally understand.
It means it was well used and well loved, and we love hearing that. So
right, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining me today. Thank you, Zach, and thank you, Sarah. And my thanks to you at home or wherever you are in library land for joining us for Kernels. If you are watching this on YouTube or on the State Library of Iowa's platform, please fill out that continuing education or CE form and make sure you fill that out and send it to us because we want to make sure you get credit. And check out all of our videos on our YouTube page. Just look up State Library of Iowa Kernels and that playlist will come up for you. Again, my thanks to Sarah Nelson and thank you to Zach Stier. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.